Hey peeps, I have been so enraptured with this idea of nostalgia this summer. You know, my son Vincent just had his 6th grade promotion, and there's just been this aspect of reflection, and we're in the middle of a heat wave here in New England. It's actually going to get down to the 60s tomorrow, but today it's like 96 degrees. It has been for the last few days, which is a lot for up here. I know it's not for everyone everywhere, but here it's hot. And I've been recovering from a back injury, so trying to gently, move during the day in a way that's supportive of the body. So I took a little walk in the heat yesterday, and I was smelling the wild roses on the road where I live, and just seeing the humidity, the way it creates like that sheen and fuzziness to the air. And I was very much reminded of Lana Del Rey's song Summertime Sadness, or anything by the doom metal band Frayle. Just this kind of fuzzy, nostalgic, soft, romantic summer feeling. And I was thinking, oh, what decks would I work with here in alignment with this energy for my personal card work? And so I compiled a little list I thought I would share with you all. And when I was thinking about, just briefly for my fellow scent-obsessed peeps, I was thinking about, because, I've been having so much fun with fragrance and scent and connecting in with that intuitively, but also what I'm choosing to wear for fragrance. And so I have lots of samples that I love to play with. And the other night, Vincent and I, maybe it was 2 nights ago, Vincent and I were spraying some different perfumes and talking about what they made us think of. So I was thinking for this deck list, what fragrance really evokes this time period, this energy of nostalgia and big bouffants for the hair and short little summer dresses from 70s style. And so Regime de Fleurs Dukhan came forward. We were playing with that, and I was like, ooh, that taps into that heavy summer heat and memories that aren't even necessarily yours. They're just memories that you're tapping into in the atmosphere when it's that hot and kind of syrupy and the air feels saccharine and heavy. So Regime de Fleurs Dukhan. I was also thinking of Labo's Matcha 26 and the Noir 29 by Labo. I think it's Labo. Everyone says Labo, but I think it's actually Labo. By Labo Fragrances. Been thinking like those scents. And then Heretic perfume, their Voodoo Lily, which is very like spicy heat. That felt appropriate too. So I've been playing with those fragrances while I've been playing with these decks as I've been putting this list together and reflecting. Such a fun place for my mind to go. So I'm so glad so many of you enjoy deck list videos. So there's kind of like 2 realms that I was thinking about when I put this deck list together. The kind of faded pastel girl summer, and then the very heavy rose and patchouli, mysterious, sexy midnight magic vibe. So we've got kind of 2 arenas here. So I'm going to kind of break things into those 2 arenas for this. And I've got one deck that kind of bridges the gap between those 2 worlds as well. So, I'll let you decide what you like there. I do want to give an honorable mention to the Ceccoli Oracle. It almost made the deck list, not quite, but it almost did. The Oracle, not the tarot deck, does have that girlhood summer, kind of ethereal, very floaty. What's that artist's name? I think it's Sophie Woodhouse. It kind of reminds me of that. So if you're in that place, definitely check out the Ceccoli Oracle. But I didn't pull her for full dialogue because she was almost, but not quite. Almost, but not quite. So I want to start with the girlhood summer vibes, or this space of romance and flowy dresses and strawberry wine and conversations about your latest obsession. For this, we have to start with, I know some of you are going to be so upset at me because this deck is out of print. There's no plans for the deck to be printed again. But this is the actual truth of the deck that I'm using right now in regards to nostalgia for myself this year. And I just did not want to leave her off the list. And it's Rose Bay Tarot's Sistine Tarot. It is currently out of print. I am not, to my knowledge, the deck creatrix, Rose Bay Tarot, has no intention of putting this deck back into print. But this is a deck that I was fortunate enough to purchase when it became available. And it is 100% the vibes of this summer for me, where I've had to be slow because of some injuries, where I've been very reflective of my son's childhood and growing up. Here's Lana herself. Where I've had to really prioritize caretaking my energy levels in a new way as I'm moving through the journey of perimenopause. This is just a deck that reminds me of the romance and artistry of feeling and feeling fully, being fully present to the story that I'm working with, the story that I'm exploring, the story that I'm embracing. It's such a beautiful deck of reverence, of sacred and holy sexuality and spirituality. And it is one of my most treasured and admired decks in my collection. I'm so grateful I have this. And for me, this is the deck of the summer for sure. I'm not going to talk about her for too long because I know many of you are going to get cranky with me because I know it was a very limited window available for purchase. We do have to remember that Rose Bay is an independent deck creator and humans are not machines. So the Sistine Tarot is where it is at, baby, for the ultimate nostalgic summer. The next two decks on my list I have stolen from a beloved sister in the cards. I'm not going to mention her name fully here on the channel because I want to respect her privacy. But if she is watching this, my dearest sister, you totally inspired with me with these two, and they are absolutely love witch movie viable decks. So the Caitlyn Mattison Tarot is an investment deck. It's quite pricey. I do understand that, but it is an independently produced deck. And it's got a 70s Woodstock, dirty in the dry field, live music, passionate irreverence, but let's all work together vibe that is unexpected in a lot of ways from a tarot deck. And this deck for me really signifies that kind of Woodstock, nostalgic memory of back when the world was new, back when there was hope for the direction we might have been headed in. But what I found as I work with this deck is that she's actually very much a sister, and she's asking you to really confront your perspective and get real with yourself and open up to the wisdom of the sacred feminine. In some ways, she felt so pretty that I was kind of embarrassed to work with her, feeling like, well, I'm not that beautiful. And as I've been working with her the last few days, there's been more of a sense of, don't drop that act, let's drop that act. We're all beautiful in our own way. And can't you find that within yourself? And can't you see how the divine sees you? So there's a real artistry to this one that takes a little time. And if you can allow her to be beautiful and faded like a perfect pair of bell-bottom jeans, she's going to give you a lot of meat on the bone. And she's just fun. And she's summertime colors. She reminds me of making paper dolls as a kid and dressing them up and coloring different outfits as well. There's so many different things you can try on here with her, isn't there? She's fun. She's explorative. She's very irreverent. She's very connected to the sacred feminine. So this is the Caitlyn Mattison Tarot. And I've been using this with the Empty Cup Oracle because of my beloved sister on the path. Yes, I stole this combination from her. So the Empty Cup Oracle is like Moonrise Kingdom, Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom, which is one of my all-time favorite Wes Anderson movies. And it's so nostalgic. It's so simple, but in such a way as it brings you back to the simplicity of your imagination as a child, right? Like taking an old pan that my mother didn't need anymore and making mud pies out in the backyard with my brother, playing pretend like that, you know? Using what is to tell a story. This deck is so connected with that, and it's just so sweet. It's like being 12 years old, and my son is 12 years old right now as well. And some of the conversations we have remind me of being that age. And you still have the imagination of those early childhood years, but you're starting to grow and change in new ways that are leading to new questions, new pathways to explore. And this deck holds that liminal space so beautifully. I love this deck. I don't talk about this deck enough on the channel, and I really want to do that more so this summer. But if you love Wes Anderson movies, if you loved Moonrise Kingdom, this is the perfect summer oracle deck. It's not overly wordy. It's very much about tapping into your imagination, into your intuition, and it plays very, very, very well with others from a community perspective. Next on the list when it comes to soft girl nostalgia is the Coastal Curiosities Oracle. This is the pocket edition by Ivy Lai Lennox Reeves. Again, another independently produced deck, as I think, yes, as all three of the decks so far have been. So this fourth deck is also independently produced. This deck is my Maine coastline, flea market, Edwardian Victorian connection to my grandparents. I love this deck so much. It makes me cry, it makes me feel the divine, and it lets me relax and think about the way Andrew Wyeth paintings make you feel, or the way the rocky coastline of Maine is both mournful and almost erotic in her intensity. And then this mingling with broken china teacups that you'd find at a flea market, old wrought iron fences surrounding cemeteries, seashells left in a bucket outside a front door. I truly adore this deck, and I feel like it's a part of my DNA at this point. It seems to tell my own stories back to me in such a beautiful way, and it inspires and encourages me in times when I feel alone. It reminds me of the stuff that I'm made of where I come from, and how I can weave that into something new, something independent. And it very much captures that faded nostalgia, barefoot in the backyard, summertime feeling. So that is the Coastal Curiosities Oracle. That's the pocket edition. There is also a full-size edition available. Next on the list, another indie deck. These are all indie decks so far. Is the 5-cent tarot. I believe I have the second edition. I just use these for the majority of my Patreon mini monthly reads. Oh, God, does this deck read well? This deck loves to chat with people. It's such a gorgeous deck. It's so much fun, and the keywords are so helpful if you are new to tarot. I really recommend this deck if you love spirit animal energy, if you like the ephemera and stones and bones feel of any of Claire Goodchild's decks. This is not in any way a ripoff of her work, so please don't think I'm saying that. But if you like the way that ephemera feel is, this deck has a nod to that ephemera. It's a little more tongue-in-cheek. It's a little more playful. It has a spirit animal guide energy, and it also has keywords listed for upright and reversals on the deck itself. So if you're new to working with tarot and you're scared you're going to forget what a card means, this deck is like a lovely security blanket. It's there to help you. It's going to hold your hand. It's not going to leave you in the lurch. And the imagery is so freaking beautiful. And not only that, but the cardstock is just pure bliss to shuffle. It just makes me feel like I might join a traveling circus and let myself explore the United States as a whole. And what perspectives might that open up for me if I was traveling? It has summertime adventure, summertime travel vibes. And the color theme is just that little bit faded. The spirit animal magic is referenced, but not over the top. It's a really joyful deck to work with. It's a lot of fun, and it has really proven to be a steady, talkative, communicative, community-based deck for me in my practice. Next on the list is Rose Bay Tarot's Softest Shade Oracle, my ultimate summertime sadness, nostalgia, girlhood summer vibes. I believe this deck is still in print. It's unique. It's Rose Bay's, one of Rose Bay's first decks, I believe, that she put out there for purchase. So it has this vibe of, I like to call it the Rococo Punk deck. And I've talked about this deck a lot because since I purchased it, I've really come to have a deep love affair with this deck. And it just perfectly encapsulates drying summer flowers, the way that roses smell in a glass after a few days. It reminds me of feeling excited, like I might fall in love tomorrow, the way I felt when I was a teenager. And it makes me curious about my own inner terrain and putting words to how I feel. It's a deck that's very responsive to creative writing and poetry. And it speaks well to understanding where you are at in your journey. It's such a fun deck. And you can make of it what you will. She really is in some ways putty in your hands. There's a lot of freedom that comes with working with this deck that is quite joyful in its essence. So this is Rose Bay Tarot's Softest Shade Oracle. I've talked about it a great deal on the channel this year, so there are plenty of videos for you to find where I break down working with this deck. So I want to talk about two decks here that are the gap between nostalgia girlhood and sexy midnight magic when it comes to this deck list. These two decks they hold the space of both. They're able to flow between those two states while still holding that hot, humid, saturated summer vibe. These two decks are the Delian Oracle, which is independently produced, available on Etsy, and the Uncommon Tarot, which is so far, I think, my only mass-produced deck on this list. I'm going to start by showing you some imagery from the Uncommon Tarot. I always forget how much I love this deck, and then I work with this deck, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I'm going to work with this deck more. The colors are so creatively inspiring. There's a sense of openness, but also a saturation in the color that speaks to the summer months for me. She's just fun. She's fun, but she's reflective. She's much more a hermit energy than the vivaciousness of the Softest Shade Oracle. So she does lead to reflection. It's like going to the ocean on your own at the end of summer and journaling about what's happened the last few months, how you feel, who you are now, how you've changed, what you want to step away from, what you want to create over the fall months. This deck very much has that feel. So she holds that space that is both the openness of youthfulness, but also the awareness of very adult, sacred feminine magic. And I don't mean adult in a dirty way. I mean grown up. I mean aware of your groundedness with enough wisdom and experience to know when to say no. This is that deck that holds that in-between space. This is mass-produced. You can find it on Amazon, I believe, still. The Uncommon Tarot by Shaheen Miro. Really beautiful, gorgeous backing, some nice gilded edging. It's a staple in my collection, and I find myself working with her in summer and fall particularly. The Delian Oracle by Welkin Tarot is relatively new for me. This is a deck you can find on Etsy. It has that faded summer feel to it. It's a gorgeous deck, and it's one that is on my list for the month of July to spend more time with. But it has that kind of hot, dry, it's not humid, it's a hot, dry summer vibe to it. The artwork is stunning and inspiring. I did an unboxing on the channel in the spring, but I really haven't been able to spend a lot of time with her. She is on my not to be read, but I guess to be worked with deck list for July, which will be coming to the channel soon. So pretty. She's so pretty. I'm not sure what her voice is yet. You know, I was just going to say something and I'm like, you know, I'm honestly really not sure. I need to work with her more. But she is so beautiful. There are so many stories in here that I want to work with, that I want to journal with, that I want to understand within her. So pretty. So this is the Delian Oracle. I'm not sure if it's currently available. I believe it was out of stock for a little bit, but it may be back in stock again. If I remember, I will put the link to the Etsy shop in the description box down below. So now we're going to flow into that heady, sultry, midnight magic vibe of summer. And I wanted to read a quote from Clarice Lispector's A Breath of Life. I've recently been delaying finishing this book, but it's happened. And my Patreon peeps and I are going to have a nice little dish, probably with a glass of wine, at the probably the beginning of next week with this one. But I wanted to read to you this quote on page 113, which I felt like just describe the kind of dark, lusty, patchouli-laden, rose-hazed, nighttime magic feel that this part of the deck list holds within it. You feel in the clock time vibrating. Meanwhile, that is, while I look at the hours of the clock, life is evaporating and my heart becomes an object that sparkles. If I were God, I would see man at a distance as thing. We are of divine construction. The clock is a torturing object. It seems shackled to time. Bad weather. I deteriorated. I felt consecrated. Afterwards, I gave a deep sigh with my eyes shut, and I opened them again as if I had been sleeping and finally awoke, forgetting my dream. I awoke arriving from very far within myself. I breathed deeply and looked once again at the slender rail, and as I looked, I saw that that haughty thing was nothing. It wasn't looking at me and would cross another century. Clarice Lispector's fever dream way of writing has been seducing me, and these decks are representative of that magic. The Witch's Tarot, the Majors Only, which I am unsure if this is still in print, but I think you can get the full deck itself from Burning Paper Hearts, is one of my favorite decks to use during a heat wave. It's gritty. It's a woman in her power. It's a witch in her power. It's a magic that's unafraid to access the bones and the dirt and the blood. It's lusty, it's irreverent, it's naked. It doesn't mind sweating. And it's very connected to the moon, to Lilith, to Hecate, and to Santa Muerta for me. It's just one of those magic decks. It's a touchstone that you come back to time and again, and you forget how amazing it is. And it's very much also in alignment with my own signature colors and how I move through the world. And so I often feel like it's reminding me not to lose my fire, not to lose my earth, not to lose the connection to my magic. It's a deck that loves to be worked with at night or in liminal spaces. It's also one that has quite profound wisdom to share at 3 or 4 a.m. I highly encourage working with this in order to know yourself, your magic, and the dark goddess more intimately. The next 2 decks on the list will be no surprise. They are both by the same artist and creatrix, and they are a heady concoction of nighttime plants, of herb, root. They're such powerful decks. This is Tiera May's Ritual Tarot. I love how the collage work in this deck connects me to the goddess Kali, inspires me and brings forward clarity and truth, and reminds me of the beauty of my own particular magical practice. It makes me want to pull out my sacred tools and consecrate them with the moon. It makes me want to dress up and put on makeup as war paint, not as a means to cover up insecurity, but as war paint to fight for what I believe in. And it reminds me that within beauty is an awakening to power that is not only active, but also receptive. It reminds me of what I imagine it must be like to visit a cathedral or chapel that has been around for centuries, that is steeped in reverence and dust. And it also reminds me of the power within the simple magic of lighting a flame and focusing on its orange glow. I'm in the middle of putting together a workshop with this deck, and so I've been working with it a great deal. And she's very, very special. There may currently be pre-orders available for the next edition of this deck. I will put the link to Tiera May's website down below. The final deck on this list that covers the apex of nighttime magic in the summer, the heat, the desire, the power of the witch. This is A Cave of Ceccoli Oracle, also by Tiera May, an independently produced deck. This is a magical deck. It is not meant to be used as traditional decks, and it will blow your mind. The heat and the fire of transformation that is contained within the void dwells within these images and cards. You will be changed after you work with this deck. And if you work with this deck at night, your magic will shift and grow. You will confront fear. You will embrace the truth of the shadow aspect of your path, magic, and power. And you will connect in with the wisdom of the void, of the womb, of the dark goddess herself here. You keep no secrets from this deck. And she is unafraid to help you work malefic magic if this is necessary in your path as well. Be prepared to gaze into a mirror that invokes both awe and reticence. And be prepared to experience a reverence for the witch's path that will inspire you and have you coming back for more and more and more. This is one of my favorite decks to work with this summer particularly. And I am deeply thankful that Tiera had the courage to craft a deck that's not meant to be used the way we use most of our sacred tools, but that has a very specific, unique, and dark feminine based purpose. If you're brave enough to work with her, she will respond to you in kind. So this has been my Summertime Sadness Nostalgic Summer deck list. Let me know if you're using any of these decks or if they're on your list to connect with, and share with me what kind of summer you're having and what decks you're using in unison with that in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what's inspiring you. I'm sending you, as always, oceans of love from the heart of the forest, and I will of course see you in the next video. Take care.